Finally, block 1. 42 days later after we started, who would have ever thought that if we'd waited one more day, we would have picked over 3 months. So it would have been March, April, May, so we're only 1 day short.
Initially there was the fear that were we going to be able to harvest it all, and whether we should start harvesting quickly just to get it in so we had a vintage. But then we decided that we didn't want to have quality of wine in the cellars that we weren't going to be happy with, so we thought we just got to play it how we normally would and harvest when things were appropriately ripe.
Were we going to be sitting and watching fruit rotting on the vines? Luckily, the government recognised that we are a key industry. This is a $2 billion export industry every year, and New Zealand's going to need the wine that we're making now to help it in its recovery.
Really interesting, just considering the picking team, because we are reliant on the travellers. We usually at least a third of our team is made up of the backpacker types. Just thinking about those kids, and they can't even move, so they're stuck here and in the accommodation that they've got, and who knows when they can get on a plane to fly home. So there's a lot of responsibility, and we're extremely appreciative of their commitment to stay with us.
This is our bubble.
This is a bubble. We're all living together, working together. The goal of picking was to limit the contact between people, observing the social distancing. We had to respect the 2 meters rule, which makes it quite tricky sometimes, but I think in New Zealand it's easier because you have the row spacing more than back in Europe.
It was strict and weird at times to be socially distanced and picking in a time that's supposed to be all about like celebration, but I think there was still wonderful, happy times even amongst the weirdness of trying to keep social distance and being far away from each other.
This will be my 8th harvest, definitely the most unique. It's been a really hectic season, but we've been really privileged to be able to pull in those grapes and be able to continue to harvest even through this COVID period. Getting protocols into place to make sure everybody was practicing their distancing, making sure that the crews had the right sanitation abilities, and really practicing that 2 metre rule has been the biggest thing that we've been having to put into place.
That's not too difficult for us because we'd like to spread out and work by ourselves a little bit and concentrate on the fruit. We've had to be a lot more vigilant when it comes to, as people start to move towards the end or we're taking fruit close towards the final phase of trying to sort it, that we've had to scatter people apart to be able to do that. And dare I say it, we have to sanitise. We've had to be uber serious. There was no sanitiser available quickly, so we had to come up with a solution, but we knew we had our own brandy. We have a product called Fine, F-I-N-E. We even had to take what we probably would have been bottling and use that for the first week, and actually use that as a hand sanitizer. Not very many people can say they can use their own biodynamic brandy as a sterilant or as a sanitizer.
After we understood we could harvest, then the real issue was, how do we do this? How do we make protocols that enable us to be safe, for us to keep everybody else safe and get the job done? And that was really Blair's job. He did a fantastic job of thinking it through, planning it, and being absolutely uncompromising on safety.
We created a winery bubble of myself, my assistant, and our 3 vintage workers, and isolating those into a bubble to the extent that the 3 of them came to the winery and camped out at the winery. Larissa was living in her van in the car park, really sort of able to isolate ourselves and lock down to deal with the harvest.
This is my home. I'm living here for like roughly 4 weeks now, but grapes are still coming in, grapes are still growing, so we have to harvest our fruit. So that's why me and Felton Road and the winemaking team, we decided that I should move out home. So I'm living here now.
We knew the fruit was looking great. The question is, was it making good wine? Winery team have had a chance to taste it. I haven't yet. I'm not in that bubble, and so I have to watch from the outside. I'm looking forward to having my first taste of 2020 Pinot Noir, but they're excited.
Don't want to get emotional, but what we were dealing with on the 17th of March is that we quickly knew that we couldn't bring our more mature harvesting crew in for this coming season. So when you've got to tell your parents, hey Dad, you can't come, it's pretty damn difficult. And it's a massive shout out to those that couldn't come.
So, but we're extremely appreciative of the harvest team and what they did for us in very challenging conditions. I like to think that they'll remember the 2020 vintage, and we certainly will.
And that is the last one. 2020, all done and dusted. Thank you. Thanks. That's over. Bring on 2021.
I'm hoping, like our Prime Minister, that the world after COVID is going to be a kinder place. It'll be a place that's thinking a bit more slowly. The gains we've made on global warming in the last few weeks, hey, wouldn't it be great if we kept doing that? So there are upsides, there are possibilities for where we can go forwards with this. And it'd be a shame if a lot of people die and we don't learn lessons.